Okay, today we're looking at this corner piece, and the more I look at it, the more complicated it really seems. Oh man, I dropped my stuff. Hold on. Okay. The more it seems, it's really complicated. So I need to make curves in two different locations without an English wheel. I need to make a bowl, and I don't have any way to do that. So I've been banging around on this, hammering on it, but I still have a problem with it. It won't ever be, I can either be in one plane or the other plane. So I've got it right for the angle. So you can see here, I've got it right, but the top is off. But then I can put the top in, sort of. Might need a few more bangs and clicks and hits, but anyway, I can get the top in, but then the bottom's out. I don't know what to do. In my previous videos, this is where I was complaining vigorously about all of the seam sealer that was jammed into this thing. Now I know why. Without a press and without the proper, if I had 18 gauge steel, I think I could get it shaped right, but I don't have 18 gauge steel. Gonna have to jerry rig it. I'm not sure how I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be a mess. The goal is to keep the water out from this side. So that's the goal, to make a patch that keeps the water out from this side. So I think if I just weld it like it is in place, get it welded in there, and then figure out where I'm short on this side. I think this piece is going to be wrong. I think I've cut off too much on this corner over here. Took me an hour to get this where it is. I'm going to have to start over. Okay, I'm going to bang around on some metal. I'll come back to show you where I got after I get it banged out. Okay. I don't know why it does this. This is awesome. Not awesome. Okay, so I'm describing that I used a different template and I placed it here, and I'm showing that I'm going to go ahead and cut a different size piece of steel. I did put the bend on the back by tracing it on the deck, and then I went and shaped the steel on my vise. So here it is, all vice gripped in place. So that's all tacked to the back of the rim that's running around it, and I'm going to describe that I'm going to, I think, hit this with a hammer a bunch and see if I can get it to bend into shape. What you're going to find out is it works great. So yes, I am going to bend that into shape. Hammer, hammer, hammer. Right on my finger here, I'm thinking maybe I could like barely cut the steel, just kind of where it would be easier to bend. So if it doesn't bend when I hit it with a hammer, I'm talking about how I would use the cutting wheel just to kind of score it and make it bend easier. Here I am hammering it. So another clip without audio. My favorite! So I'm working it from the back to the front, and then I work across, and it's causing it to spread. So when I start hitting at the front, it's popping the back out, but I'm working it. So then I go back to the back and I hammer it until it gets closer, and I'm going to work all the way down, all the way to the end again. So, and it's working very well. At one point I hit the fender there, and I have to reach underneath and hammer it back out. a little bit there. You can kind of see a dimple, but otherwise it works pretty good, better than I expected it to. I think that's basically it. Now I've switched over to the ball portion of the hammer, and I'm giving it hits in direct spots where I want it to go and bend specifically, not just hammer the whole piece over. That worked great to get it lined up the way I wanted it to. Tapping the back of the fender out, making it round again where I smacked it with the hammer, and then back to making the two pieces as close together as I could get them. Not bad. I'm a little surprised actually that worked as well as it did. It's pretty much what I'm telling you right now. I am really happy with it, and you can see that it did bend, and it is touching the frame on both sides, top and bottom, and all the way around. So I just basically bent the piece into place. Now I'm going to talk about how I'm going to weld it, and I'm just going to weld it exactly where it is. I'm not even going to try to make the sides cut better. I'm just going to let them overlap. You know, at some point this truck's probably going to rust all the way through anyway, be a big pile of dust, but not before I'm ready to upgrade or do something else. This vice grip worked great, shockingly well. Okay, so we started welding. This is going to be a lot of adjustment here. I changed the wire speed a little bit at the beginning, thinking I was getting it to blowing through, but actually it's not up high enough, so I went ahead and turned it back up to its proper, back to where it was when I started out. But I go walking around that piece with the welder and making little joins. Watched a video this week and talked about how you're never going to lay dimes down on thin gauge steel like this, so don't even bother. Just do the tack and the grind and the tack and the grind. So that's what we do all the way around. This is me changing the wire speed. I had to walk away from the camera to do that. Gets that on the right speed, and the gas is set right. So here we go again. So you should see better welds. There's still splatter a lot, but I mean, welding 16 to 18, there's not a lot you can do in the middle there. I watched a video where it talked about kind of the best settings, and I'm just doing the best I can with what I've got there. Lots of welding across. Wasn't very much commentary. I know at one point I welded, hit a spark when I was underneath, and I had a big old chunk of hot steel run down my head, which was super not fun. But I'm checking to make sure that my welds are going through, and they seem to be going through moderately well at this point. Hoping that's working the way I was expecting it to. So still welding. I think the lights, I was having trouble getting enough light on it so I could see what I was doing. So here we go. Now we've got light. I can see when the hood's down. It's amazing how bright that can be and how dark your hood can get, and you just can't see it. So lots more welds here. At one point I go get my hose to do the air method where it cools the welds faster. I'll go get that here in a bit, I think. But ran the tank dry, didn't want it to run going making all that noise in the background, so let's call it good. I have to fill this spot right here where I'm welding right now. I'm not in love with the way that worked out, but again, I'm going to get this coated. And seam sealer is going to go in there. There will be enough seam sealer to keep the water out. That patch may rust immediately after we get the first drop of rain on it. It won't rust from the back because I'm going to cover it with truck bed liner. This is getting the hose for the air. I think I'm going to come back with that and then go pss, 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 pss. There it is. Yep. And we'll start some more welding on it. The camera's going to shut off due to heat at some point here. It was 110 in the shop. Surprised because we had a north wind blowing, but it really didn't cool down like it should have today. Still felt like it was 110 outside, which it probably was. Wasn't terribly concerned about warping here. You might want to weld, when you weld, you want to weld like maybe a couple welds on the top an inch apart, and then go to the side, do a couple of tacks, and then go back to the opposite side, do a couple of tacks. Um, I didn't do too much of that. I just kind of worked it just the way I thought it would. If it heated and curved, I didn't care at this point because it's basically in a corner and it was in a bad spot anyway. So those welds worked out pretty good. Okay, not the prettiest welds in the universe, but I did grind them down. And then I came under here when the camera heated up and shut off, so I went on and worked without you. So that's where we stand right now. Again, not super excited about that, but I've got it where it needs to be. I'm gonna knock it off with a wire brush on the grinder and then give it some primer on both sides, and then do some seam sealing and more primer probably, and I'll finish it up. I'll come back with a shot when I have all of that completed. Okay. Getting old. I'm gonna call that a wrap. The thermostat says it's 110 in here. The camera keeps shutting off because it's too hot. Got mostly cloud cover outside and it's really hot. And it's humid too. I don't know why it's so humid. It hasn't rained in a week or so. All right, so we've got everything covered in primer. I went back over and recovered everything else that I had previously worked on in another coat of primer. Yay me! All right, so yeah, so everything looks good there. Okay, here we are. All right, this is the corner right here, and I fixed this patch too. I'm not real loving with that one yet, but I think it's gonna be okay once I cover all of this with truck bed liner. That's right, truck bed liner. Yeah, I think we'll probably hide all of the places where water could sneak in again. So we're down to 2 fixes. We're down to the big hole and the strap. So I'm gonna be cutting some steel, get those straps in that big patch sorted out, and get those welded on as soon as I can. I think I'm gonna go help the evil German dude with his pool house silo mendium, whatever you want to call it. He converted a giant silo, grain silo, into basically a guest house and the pool house. So you can go change in there and then come out and get in his amazingly awesome swimming pool and go swimming. And then go back to there before you track in the house. It's gonna be great. Anyway, it looks really cool. So far so good of what I've seen him working on it. I can't wait to spend the night there because I know he's gonna let me at some point. Anyway, yeah, so got to get back to those 2 last patches. Again, it's gonna be one of those, can you bend it the right way kind of deal. I'm not sure you couldn't just start tack welding it and just bend it as you need to around. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. Probably experiment with that when I get the patches actually cut in length. That's all I've got. Thanks for tuning in. As always, you can support me on Patreon if you feel like it. It helps me keep the website up. It's a hot one, and I'm out. Thanks. Where's that?